there is style all around you. There's always something fresh, living life in this style.
Right.
He's already gone. Joining me right now is author Gordon Bock and Suzanne Stanis from Indiana Landmarks. They're coming together for a great opportunity to learn more. Man, kitchens, they're the center, they're the heartbeat of homes and families. And when we're talking about vintage looks, which I think a lot of people are still always love. They love that retro, whether it takes them back to the childhood or whatever. But today, is it still practical to go for that sort of look in a kitchen? As much as we may like the look, is it practical for use as a kitchen to be vintage or period?
Well, that's kind of the conundrum, as I call it, between that most people have when they have a vintage house. We might have antiques in our living room, period lighting from the early 20th century in a bedroom, things like that. But nobody wants to live or cook in a kitchen from 1910 or 1890.
Well, we have evidence here. We got schmancy, high tech, you know, ooh, it's, you know, that sort of thing.
But you can have it both ways. I mean, some of the materials from the past, like linoleum, which was used in, 100 years ago, is back. It's a green material. Cabinet work, you can get styling for cabinets for the 1950s, the 1890s. And have your kitchen be part of your house, so it's just not a time warp where you go from one style to another, and still have your refrigerator and your microwave.
And as part of Indiana Landmarks, you brought Gordon into town to talk more on this on an elaborate basis, right?
Exactly. And as the librarian for Indiana Landmarks, we get a lot of people coming into our reference library wanting information on how do I renovate my kitchen, and so we thought, well, let's bring in an expert, give us some tips on that. So I think we provided you with some samples of
taking a look,
maybe that's not the one that is the most contemporary, but we do have some great examples throughout historic districts in the city. And you can come out tonight to our talk and see even more.
Well, remind people where the talk's going to take place and when.
It's at Indiana Landmarks Center, which is 1201 Central Avenue, the former Central Avenue United Methodist Church, and the doors open at 5:30. Lecture is from 6 to 7, and Gordon will be around signing books after his lecture.
Awesome. And I watch a lot of home improvement television and attempt some of it myself. There's an entire industry about renovating kitchens, and do you see, would people be better off going for a balanced period look, sort of what you talked about, versus something that's indicative of a particular decade, like 5+ years from now? Are we going to be talking about stainless steel appliances the way we talk about avocado? Or talked about avocado, I should say.
I think when you're working on a kitchen, you're going to do it for yourself, especially if you're going to stay in the house for a while. And some of the things that I talk about are materials, let's say, for countertops. It's kind of what's old is new again. Okay. We love stone these days, granites, soapstone, even butcher block. They were used 100 years ago. So they're kind of timeless materials, and I don't, from my perspective, you can't go too far wrong.
What about the space itself? My wife, she'll have people over. I say she, I'm there, but I didn't invite them. And she's always putting food off into far corners, trying to get people out of the kitchen, and it's impossible.
Everybody wants to be in the kitchen. It's the center of the house. And they've been a subject of intense interest and money for about 100 years.
And as far as Indiana Landmarks, for people who aren't completely familiar, the purpose, the cause?
Indiana Landmarks is interested in using historic preservation to revitalize communities, reconnect us to our heritage, and save meaningful places. And it really brings history to life when you've got the buildings that illustrate that. And
an area like Indiana, sometimes I think we question the historical significance because we see strip malls and we see urban growth and suburban growth, but my gosh, we are the heart of the Midwest, right? We have just as much history, architectural history, as other places. Oh yeah, we really do, and I think we often take for granted what's in our own backyards. And so through programs like this, we encourage people to come out and learn about the city, learn about historic architecture, and make it a part of their lives. If we were going to incorporate something period into this schmancy kitchen of ours, what would you recommend? Or do you think we're doing okay?
I think you're doing great. lights are a fun thing to add to the building, but you have plenty of lights in here.
You know, we got actually we have a lot of spares in the hallway we're working on. All right, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming in. We're going to have that information on our website, indiestyle.tv. We're not done in the kitchen. Coming up a little bit later, Top Chef Richard Blaze. Oh man, he's appropriately